I'm going to say a very good afternoon to a woman who will bring a semblance of calm, maturity, dignity and humility. No, she wasn't available. Poppy Coburn, assistant comment editor at the Daily Telegraph. Good afternoon. How are you?
Fantastic introduction as always. Thank you.
I was sitting thinking that the last time we saw each other at the Reform dinner, you were having a bit of a meltdown about a taxi. Now, of course, you were going to have to go 43 miles to see your better half in a cab. You were hacked off about it. Imagine if you'd been a migrant, Poppy Coburn, you'd have got that free and a luxury vehicle. This is ludicrous, though, isn't it? I mean,
it would have been a much nicer car than my Bolt ride share that I had to ride around Birmingham. I mean, the funniest thing about this story, I think you can say there's no one's benefiting from the migrant crisis in the UK unless you are making flags. I think if you're making flags, you're in a big business, and if you're driving taxis, because these seem to be the people who are, inadvertently benefiting from it.
I couldn't.
Utterly outrageous.
It is, and I think I'm almost getting hacked off with myself, because I do actually genuinely come here every day and not want to be so exasperated by what, to me, is so ridiculous, some of these decisions, so lacking in common sense, and they wonder why there is a seminal change across the United Kingdom. You're saying to British taxpayers, apart from thank you for working, we're putting it at the back of the queue, and then we're going to kick you further in the head because we're going to say we're actually going to luxuriously drive these people who shouldn't be here so that we, and I know what this is about, we make sure that they're not treated badly. And I repeat, and a lot of people hate me for saying this on the left, what about the people in this country? Why don't we treat them better? Or is that a terrible thing to say, Poppy?
Well, isn't the whole point as well? I mean, people didn't want these people to come here in the first place, right? It's bad enough that they're here in the first place. A lot of the people who came in small boats never should have been able to settle. They shouldn't have been allowed to cross the channel. But now they're here. Not only did you not want them here, they're going to have a better quality of life than you.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to my local NHS GP. The idea that I would get a cab, if I could even get an appointment, because they completely bypass the whole process of having to call up at 8 a.m. in the morning, you're 123rd person in the queue, try back again tomorrow morning. That's not a problem for these people. And it's the level of hypocrisy that makes people across the country so angry, that means that immigration is the #1 polling issue now, because it's so unbelievably unfair. I mean, you could not make it up.
And when you say that, and with the passion that I have about it as well, I mean, you add to that the story of, foreign criminals flown out of Britain to Romania with £2,000 on a credit card. These are convicted criminals who are being deported. I would love one of the lefties that loathe everything that I say to look me in the face and say, the reason that we're doing this is a perfectly good, moral, common sense reason. There can't be. It can't make sense to put your own population, that's going to be sounding wrong, but what I mean by that is the very people who are paying for the tax that sustain this stuff, you're going to have them at the back of the queue. I just think, what do they expect to happen? Do they expect the British people to spend the next 20 years going, yeah, it's absolutely fine. I'm really struggling. I can't pay my bills. I haven't been out in a month or something, so I don't care about not seeing a doctor. I want these people who shouldn't be here to be treated better than me. Ludicrous.
Well, obviously we agree on this, Jeremy, but you have people in your show who are on the left, who do have different views on immigration. But I can guarantee you will not get a straight answer out of any of them explaining why this is the best situation to be in. At best, they'll say, oh, you're racist, you're mean, and try and shut down the conversation. Because there is no way of justifying spending £600 on a taxi to a GP appointment. There is no way of justifying giving a rapist £2,000 when you're deporting him from your country. By the way, a rapist who could come back at any moment across the channel, we wouldn't know.
Let's not try and stop the rapist coming back. Let's sort of tick his box of getting him out of here and give him £2,000 to make it easier, and then you have
monopoly. It's like pass go. It's ridiculous.
But then you have that whole argument that are you actually treating the very people who commit these crimes better than the victims against which the crime has been perpetrated?
Well, I think that's true. I was reading the transcript of the Epping case, obviously the man who sexually assaulted the girl in Epping. She was saying, I can't wear a skirt now in my hometown. I'm too afraid.
Can I ask you, I'm really pleased you brought this up, because I said something yesterday and I get a stonewall silence. I've worked for many years with really strong women who have advocated, quite rightly, women's rights, equality for women. And yet, when the girl on Dorset Beach in Bournemouth gets attacked and the guy goes, well, he's got 12 months. When the girl in Epping who's 14 is sexually attacked by a man who's been here 5 days, who says to the police, Poppy, right? I didn't know that wasn't allowed, which tells you everything about why these people shouldn't be here. Why do those same women who jumped up and down quite rightly about Me Too, who jumped up quite rightly about feminism and equality, why do I not hear a bloody word from them, Poppy? Because I don't.
Well, it's not even that you don't hear a word from them. You will hear from them. They'll say, stop talking about it. You know, there was a petition that was signed recently by all these female celebrities, these virtue signalling women, including Zara Sultana, formerly of the Labour Party, saying...
Well, the fruit and nuts party, that one.
Yeah, indeed. There is no link between immigration and women's safety. Well, tell that to all of the women who've been sexually assaulted by asylum seekers in the last couple of years. Their cases don't matter then, do they? We're not allowed to talk about them because it might upset community relations. I mean, it is hypocrisy of the highest order. These are people who think you should go to jail if you wolf whistle someone, you know, and yet when someone actually rapes a child, all of a sudden it's not a problem anymore. It's disgusting.
It is beyond disgusting, and you know, I'm just grateful that we have, you know, a platform, be it your paper, The Sun, this, to be able to talk about this. This isn't, you know, I say to people every day, I would love to come on here and not be able to pick holes in stuff that is ludicrous, farcical, hypocritical, and I think is almost sort of anti the very community and culture that we've built. However, all is not yet lost, because our Prime Minister... Our Prime Minister has stated that he's going to reclaim the flag from the far right. Now, I will say this, because I think it's important, that it's a very easy argument for Starmer and those on the left who are frightened. I mean, did you see Ed Davey yesterday saying that if you vote for Nigel Farage, kids in schools, they'll have guns? And I mean, he's completely lost. They're terrified, aren't they? They're so terrified, the establishment, of what Nigel Farage might do. But Starmer has always, I think, found it easy to say that anybody that waves the Union Jack or the St George's flag is far right. And I get that in instances that has been used, but I absolutely will always sit here and say, why the hell can we not be proud of our flag? Why can we not be? I mean, I read stories that, you know, when I see the Union Jack flown, it makes me feel, you know, it intimidates me a bit because, you know, I come from a different country and again, are we the laughing stock or what? Why can't we be proud of our flag, Poppy?
Well, the thing is, if they really were so comfortable about the flag, because they like to pretend they do, like Yvette Cooper saying, what is it, she sleeps in Union Jack bed sheets like an absolute lunatic. If they were really comfortable with the flag and they had no problem with it, they wouldn't talk about it so much. The whole reason this story is a story in the first place is because they cannot help themselves. They see the flag of our country and you can see it makes them uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable to look at our country's flag. And that is why.
Why are they uncomfortable to look? Why are they uncomfortable to look at the flag of a country? This is I'm going to sound like your dad now. This is the bloody country they wanted to come to. If we're so awful, why don't you all sod off and go somewhere else? That's what I don't get.
Well, I can say, you know, you can even do a consistent point. Oh, I don't like waving a flag. But they love to do it for the Palestine flag. What is it? They're happy to raise the Palestinian flag. They're happy to wave the LGBT flag. You know, why can we not raise the flag of the country that we were all born and grew up in? You know, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, I mean, I sound so basic, but there are other countries in the world you can live in.
You think Scotland, you think Wales, you think Ireland. Everybody is able and prepared and willing and proud to wave their flag. But apparently we've turned into apologists, and that's wrong. And I do, again, bring it back to hard-working, normal Brits do not like what's happening with immigration. They don't like being put at the back of the queue, and they want to be proud of their flag. And I don't think it works if you go, do you know, everybody who flies a flag's far right, they belong with Tommy Robinson. That's ridiculous. There are many, 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 many millions of people in this country who are proud of their flag. And I think this argument, and there again, Starmer, just this sort of, you know, I'll salute Hamas on Sunday, and on Monday I'll send wishes to, you know, Rosh Hashanah to the Jewish community because you try and be all things to all people. Now you're attempting to reclaim the flag. You know, Palestine was about securing the Muslim vote because you're terrified. Your wife probably told you about Rosh Hashanah because she's a Jewish woman. I've no idea. Today we're reclaiming the flag. He doesn't really have any identity, does he? None at all. No,
for people who are actually patriotic, they just don't think about it that much. They'll see a flag, maybe they'll wave it outside of the house, they're proud of it, they're proud of the country, that's it. It's these people who are actually uncomfortable and have to lie. They have to lie to themselves and they have to lie to the country and pretend they're comfortable with it when we can all tell they're not. Keir Starmer does not drink his tea out of a Union Jack mug. Sorry, I'm not an idiot. I do not believe this. I do not believe that Yvette Cooper sleeps in a Union Jack bedsheet. You know, it's a load of rubbish.
I bet you won't know. I bet you can't answer this. I've just walked from my dressing room past somebody else's dressing room downstairs, and they've got a Union Jack. When you have makeup put on, you have like a gown, and he's now he's now got a Union Jack gown. Do you know who that is? Piers Morgan's got a Union Jack gown. Oh, yes, he's got a Union Jack gown. I'm going to get one as well. I don't see why it's such a big...
Has he got a crown?
What? Yeah, he probably has got a
crown as well.
I'll paint it and put it on his head. Now, listen, this is interesting. There was a Labour council leader, I don't know, but is this a true story? A Labour council leader said the St George's flag campaigners are nonces. Did you read that today, that story?
Yes, I did. Unfortunately, I did.
Oh, let me play the clip. This is Jeremy Newmark. Good God. Flag campaigners are nonsense. Yeah, Jezza, you go for it. Have a listen, have a watch.
Also a bit disappointed that my question was diverted from the portfolio holder, but anyway, you've spoken about extremists. Do you accept that by constantly linking our national flag to extremism, as you did in the question, or the answer to the question, as well as many Labour MPs at the moment, that you run the risk of letting extremists define it instead of reclaiming it for the mainstream?
Thank you, Councillor Rosehill. Councillor Newmark, please.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Rosehill. And I'm sorry, but I'm not playing. I won't be taking lectures on our national flag and extremism from a councillor that has the audacity to speak in almost glowing terms in his question to this council about Operation Raise the Colours. Operation Raise the Colours. An organised and orchestrated attempt by a bunch of criminals, extremists, nonces, to hijack our national flag.
Honestly, I don't know how we have got, Poppy Coburn, to where we have got, but I do want to ask you this. Did you, like I watched Donald Trump addressing the United Nations yesterday, sort of half open-mouthed? We'll put aside the Sharia law comments, a couple of inaccuracies, but by God, it was good telly, wasn't it?
I just thought you could really tell he started off doing The Apprentice, you know, that the opening lines of you haven't got the teleprompter, you haven't got the elevator.
Do you know about the elevator story? Have you heard this story? Apparently they've discovered that staff were openly talking about stopping it to make him fall over. The FBI are now investigating attacking the president on the elevator. He doesn't care though. I mean, he saved most of his ire for almost everybody that was there, specifically Sadiq Khan. What did you make of that?
I thought it was hysterical. I mean, look, you know, again, there's some inaccuracies. This is Donald Trump. He's a man not known for his commitment to the truth. Even I can say that, and I'm quite fond of him myself. But he's not wrong when he points out that the international image of London is not what the Mayor of London would want you to think it is. You know, when I speak to my American friends, they ask me questions like, you know, is it true that there are machete attacks in the streets of London? Well, there was one on my road yesterday. I saw a video of it on X. So, yes, there are. It is true that London's a bit, you know, stabby, a bit dirty, not very pleasant, has an extremism problem. Sadiq Khan may not like that, but, you know, you shouldn't have had a big blimp of a baby when Donald Trump came for his first state visit. Maybe he's taken against you, but, you know, you brought it on yourself.
Well, Sadiq hasn't... Sir Sadiq, I'm never calling him that. He hasn't responded too well to what Donald Trump said. Let's play... This is Sadiq Khan this morning, kicking back at Donald.
What it is about this Muslim mayor who leads a liberal, multicultural, progressive, successful city that means I appear to be living rent-free inside Donald Trump's head. President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he's Islamophobic.
They don't love each other very much, those two. I'm not a Sadiq Khan fan, sorry. I think you're absolutely right, Poppy, to be fair. I mean, much as he seems to crave diversity and exclusivity and whatever else it all means, because I don't know, you're right, people are being stabbed on the streets, kids are running amok. If you get your house burgled or your shop ransacked, the police aren't there. That's what I think your mayor should be doing, but we seem to have this malaise across the country. Before we let you go, the other big news story of the day, which is wonderful, because and Mike was saying this earlier, which is true. Another Labour blunder. Do you know Morgan? I don't know why we do this. Morgan McSweeney is the chief of staff. Labour's chief of staff. Morgan McSweeney. Anyway, Morgan has admitted, well, he hasn't admitted yet, there seems to be an admin error over £700,000 in hidden donations. And I only have this to say about Morgan McSweeney. I do think he'll be gone by the weekend, because this afternoon Keir Starmer has announced he's got full confidence in Morgan McSweeney, the man who put him in number 10. And to be fair, he said that about Angie on a Wednesday, in which she was gone by Saturday. He said that about Mandelson. He said everything. Mandelson on a Wednesday, he was gone. So I think Morgan McSweeney. But isn't it interesting? You know, Chief of Staff, 700 grand, hidden donations. This is going to be proper politics. You Tory scumbags, you've had your noses in the trough for too long. This is going to be grown-up politics. It's about growth. No growth. This is about working people. We don't know any working people in wherever they live. Where is it? Where was the posh part? Hackney or whatever. Islington. Morgan McSweeney. 700 grand, Poppy. They're not going to let him off the hook on this, are they? He's next.
You've just managed to make Morgan McSweeney sound like a pirate.
Morgan McSweeney.
Walking the plank.
Yeah,
walking the plank by the end of the week. You know, he's not long for this world. I mean, yeah, it's the hypocrisy. It's so funny. From the very beginning of this government, it's been holier than I. Aren't the Tories scum? Aren't they awful? You know, they've all, as you say, they're all getting rich off the country. And lo and behold, they're also rigging things behind the scenes. They've got a dodgy dossier of emails. You know, it's just one sleaze scandal after the other. But unfortunately, you know, I think you can afford to lose Mandelson. You can afford to lose Angela. I don't think Starmer can afford to lose Morgan McSweeney, because he really is the brains behind that operation. I think we know pretty clearly that there is nothing behind Keir Starmer. He is an empty shell of a man. And if he loses his puppeteer, then that's it for him. And you can say hello to Prime Minister Andy Burnham, which I think is going to be somehow even worse in our current situation.
I feel that you are now with me after 30 years of broadcasting at a moment where it is possible to see Jeremy Kyle explode, literally as a human being, on national television and radio, because I have just been handed a piece of paper. Are you joking me here, Jodie? Is this true? Poppy, I'm going to give you first dibs. Pin back your lugholes, peeps. An asylum seeker, this is breaking news from your newspaper. An asylum seeker has had his sentencing hearing postponed after leaving court this afternoon to get fish and chips. Shikhar Jamal, 24, who is being housed at a migrant hotel, was due to be sentenced for threatening another man with a snooker cue in Bournemouth, Dorset. An interpreter, that cost a few quid, who speaks Kurdish Sorani, the language spoken in Iraq or Kurdistan, was booked for the hearing. But when his case was called before magistrates, pool magistrates, at 12:30 this afternoon, Jamal was nowhere to be found. His defence lawyer sent out a search party. There was no sign of him in the public lobby or anywhere. 15 minutes later, the defendant was spotted sitting on a bench outside, looking out to sea, eating fish and chips. They were apparently bought from the nearby Parkway Fish Bar. By the time he re-entered the building, another case had been called and the magistrate had left for his own lunch. A backlog meant the schedule's full and he now can't go back to court for another month and he'll stay in a hotel. I honestly, seriously, I can't do this anymore.
No, Jeremy, what you need to understand is he's eating fish and chips. That means he's integrating. Okay, we should all be grateful for this. He's getting into English culture. He's liking his fish and chips.
So sorry, I'm going to court, but I'm not going to turn up. I'm going to sit outside the court having fish and chips. Then I'm going to make sure that I don't actually get to court, and then I'm going to go back to my 4-star hotel and probably get a car that'll take me to some bloody doctor's appointment in Scotland, and then when they do deport me, they'll give me £2,000 to spend. I can't do it anymore. Poppy, I can't. I'm having a breakdown. I can't do it. It's just madness, man. Thank you.
Some people have all the luck.
We love having you on. Thank you so much. We love you. We love you. Poppy Coburn, assistant comment editor of the Daily Telegraph there.